The evening sky was turning that deep purple color that comes right before complete darkness. Tom Rodriguez wiped the sweat from his forehead even though it was cold outside. He'd just finished a 12-hour shift at the construction site, and every muscle in his body ached. His hands were rough and calloused, covered in small cuts that came with the territory of working with concrete and steel all day. Tom was 28 years old, but sometimes he felt much older. Life had a way of adding years to you when you worked 2 jobs just to keep your head above water. His truck rumbled down the highway, the check engine light glowing like it had been for the past 3 months. He couldn't afford to fix it yet. There were always more important things: his daughter's school supplies, the rent that kept climbing, the medical bills from when his mom had that health scare last year. He glanced at his phone sitting in the cup holder. 3 missed calls from his ex-wife, Jennifer. He knew what that meant. He was running late to pick up his daughter, Lily. Again. He pressed harder on the gas pedal, hoping the old truck had a little more speed in it. That's when he saw the car on the side of the road. It was one of those expensive Mercedes, the kind Tom had only seen in movies or driving through the fancy part of town. The hazard lights blinked orange in the growing darkness. An old man stood next to the car looking completely lost. He wore a suit that probably cost more than Tom made in a month, but right now, he just looked like someone who needed help. Tom's first instinct was to keep driving. He was already late. Jennifer would be angry and she'd use it as another example of why he wasn't reliable. But something made him slow down. Maybe it was the way his own father had raised him. Maybe it was just the decent thing to do. Whatever it was, Tom found himself pulling onto the shoulder about 20 feet ahead of the Mercedes. The old man turned as Tom approached, and there was relief written all over his face. Up close, Tom could see he was probably in his 70s, with white hair and deep wrinkles around his eyes. His hands were shaking, though Tom couldn't tell if it was from the cold or fear or just old age. "Thank you for stopping," the old man said, his voice trembling slightly. "I didn't know what I was going to do. My tire blew out about 20 minutes ago and my phone is dead. I've been standing here watching cars pass by and nobody else has stopped." Tom looked at the flat tire. It was completely shredded. "Don't worry about it, sir. Let me take a look and see what we can do." The old man introduced himself as Benjamin Whitmore, though the name didn't mean anything to Tom. Benjamin explained that he'd been driving back from the city when he heard the tire blow. He'd tried to change it himself, but he didn't have the strength anymore, and his phone had died before he could call for help. Tom grabbed his toolbox from the truck and got to work. The cold air bit at his fingers as he loosened the lug nuts. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Another call from Jennifer. He ignored it. This wouldn't take long, and right now, this old man needed help more than he needed to answer another angry phone call. "So what do you do?" Benjamin asked, clearly trying to make conversation as Tom worked. "Construction," Tom said, grunting as he pulled off the damaged tire. "Mostly commercial buildings. I've been doing it for about 10 years now." "That's honest work," Benjamin said. "Hard work too, I imagine." Tom laughed, but there wasn't much humor in it. "Yeah, you could say that. I also work nights at a warehouse 3 days a week, stocking shelves, loading trucks, whatever they need." "2 jobs?" Benjamin asked, and something in his voice made Tom look up. "Gotta pay the bills somehow," Tom said, positioning the spare tire. "I've got a daughter. She's 7. Her name's Lily. I'm actually supposed to pick her up right now, which is why I need to make this quick. Her mom and I aren't together anymore, but I try to see Lily as much as I can. Between work and child support and everything else, it's tight. Real tight." He didn't know why he was telling this stranger so much. Maybe it was because Benjamin had kind eyes. Maybe it was just nice to talk to someone who wasn't yelling at him for being late or demanding something from him. "My mom got sick last year," Tom continued, tightening the lug nuts. "Nothing too serious, thank God, but the medical bills wiped out everything I'd saved. I had this little nest egg going for Lily's college fund. Took me 3 years to save up about $8,000. Gone in 2 months of hospital bills and medications." Benjamin was quiet for a moment. "That must have been difficult." "It's life, you know," Tom said, standing up and wiping his hands on his jeans. "You do what you have to do. My mom raised me by herself after my dad died. She worked 3 jobs sometimes to keep food on the table and keep me in school. How could I not help her when she needed it? The spare tire was on now, secured and ready to go. Tom packed up his tools and checked his watch. He was now 40 minutes late. Jennifer was going to kill him. "There you go, Mr. Whitmore," Tom said. "That spare should get you where you need to go, but you'll want to get a real tire on there as soon as possible. Don't drive too fast on it." Benjamin reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. "Please let me pay you for your time and trouble. You've really saved me tonight." Tom held up his hand. "No, sir. I don't want your money. I'm just glad I could help." "But you're late to pick up your daughter because of me," Benjamin insisted. "At least let me give you something for gas." "Really, it's okay," Tom said, smiling despite his exhaustion. "My dad used to say that kindness is free, but it's the most valuable thing you can give someone. He helped people all the time, never asked for anything in return. I'm just paying it forward, you know?" Benjamin looked at Tom for a long moment, and there was something in his eyes that Tom couldn't quite read. Sadness, maybe. Or recognition. The old man finally nodded and put his wallet away. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. "Then at least take this," Benjamin said, pressing the card into Tom's hand. "If you ever need anything at all, please don't hesitate to call." Tom took the card without really looking at it and stuffed it into his pocket. "Sure thing, Mr. Whitmore. You drive safe now, okay? And get that tire replaced soon." "Thank you, Tom," Benjamin said, shaking his hand with surprising strength. "You have no idea what you've done for me tonight. No idea at all." Tom just smiled, nodded, and headed back to his truck. He didn't understand what the old man meant, but he didn't have time to think about it. He was already planning what he'd say to Jennifer to calm her down. As he pulled back onto the highway, he could see Benjamin in his rearview mirror, still standing there by his Mercedes, watching him drive away. Tom's phone rang again. "Jennifer," he answered it this time. I know, I'm late," he said before she could start yelling. "I stopped to help someone with a flat tire. I'm on my way now. I'll be there in 15 minutes. "You're always late, Tom," Jennifer said, her voice tight with frustration. "Lily was waiting for you. She had her backpack ready an hour ago." "I'm sorry," Tom said, and he meant it. He was always sorry. Sorry for being late. Sorry for not making enough money. Sorry for not being the man she'd wanted him to be. "Tell Lily I'm coming, okay? Tell her I love her." Jennifer sighed and hung up without saying goodbye. Tom drove faster, his hands gripping the steering wheel. Tomorrow he'd be back on the construction site before dawn, then the warehouse tomorrow night. Same routine, different day. The encounter with the old man was already fading from his mind. Just another small moment in a life full of struggles and responsibilities. He had no idea that everything was about to change. Tom's alarm went off at 5 in the morning, just like it did every weekday. He slapped at his phone until the noise stopped, then lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling of his small apartment. His body ached from yesterday's work. His lower back had that familiar pain that never quite went away anymore. He was getting too old for this kind of manual labor, but what choice did he have? He dragged himself out of bed and stumbled to the kitchen. The apartment was quiet. Lily was at her mom's house, and it always felt too empty when she wasn't there. He made coffee in the cheap machine that took forever to brew and ate 2 pieces of toast while standing at the counter. No time to sit down. Never time for that. His phone buzzed on the counter. It was only 5:30 in the morning. Who would be calling this early? The screen showed a number he didn't recognize with a local area code. Probably a spam call. Tom ignored it and finished his coffee. The phone rang again immediately. Same number. Then a third time. Annoyed now, Tom answered. "Yeah? Is this Tom Rodriguez?" a woman's voice asked. Very professional and very urgent. "Yeah, that's me. Who's this?" "Mr. Rodriguez, this is Patricia Chen from First National Bank. I'm the branch manager. I'm sorry to call so early, but this is extremely important. We need you to come into the bank immediately." Tom's stomach dropped. The bank. This was about money, and when the bank called, it was never good news. He must have overdrafted his account, again. He thought he'd had enough to cover everything this month, but maybe he'd miscalculated. Maybe that automatic payment for his insurance had gone through early. "Look, if this is about an overdraft fee, I can explain," Tom started. "I get paid on Friday, and I can—" "Mr. Rodriguez, this isn't about an overdraft," Patricia interrupted. "There's been a very significant deposit made to your checking account. We need to verify this transaction with you as soon as possible." Tom frowned. "A deposit? What do you mean? I don't get paid until Friday. Are you sure you have the right person?" "I'm absolutely certain," Patricia said. "The deposit was made last night. Mr. Rodriguez, can you come to the bank before we open? I'd prefer to discuss this in person." Something in her voice made Tom nervous. She sounded excited but also confused, like she didn't quite believe what she was seeing. "How much are we talking about here? Like $50? Because I don't understand why—" "Mr. Rodriguez, the deposit is for $5 million. Tom actually laughed. It just came out, automatic. "Okay, good one. Who is this really? Is this Mike from the site? Because this isn't funny, man. I don't have time for—" "Mr. Rodriguez, I assure you this is not a joke," Patricia said, her voice very serious now. "I'm calling from the bank. You can call our main number and ask for me if you don't believe me. But there is $5 million in your checking account, and we need to verify this immediately." Tom sat down hard on one of his kitchen chairs. $5 million. That was impossible. That didn't happen to people like him. This has to be a mistake. There's no way— "Can you come in?" Patricia asked again. "As soon as possible." Tom looked at the clock. He was supposed to be at the construction site in an hour, but $5 million? Even if it was a mistake, he needed to know what was happening. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. He threw on clothes and drove to the bank in a daze. His mind was spinning with possibilities. It had to be a mistake. Maybe someone had typed in the wrong account number. Maybe it was fraud, and he was going to get in trouble for money that wasn't his. Maybe he was still asleep and this was all a weird dream brought on by exhaustion. The bank wasn't open yet, but Patricia was waiting at the front door. She was a small woman in her 50s wearing a business suit and glasses. She looked at Tom like he was some kind of puzzle she couldn't figure out. "Mr. Rodriguez?" she asked. "That's me," Tom said, following her inside. The bank was empty and quiet, just the hum of computers and fluorescent lights. She led him to a private office in the back and closed the door. 2 other people were already there. A man in a suit who introduced himself as Dale Harrison, the regional manager, and another woman named Rita, who was apparently their head of security. They all looked at Tom like he'd just walked out of a spaceship. "Mr. Rodriguez, please sit down," Patricia said, gesturing to a chair. She pulled up something on her computer and turned the screen so he could see it. Tom stared at the numbers on the screen, his checking account, the one where he usually had maybe a few $100s if he was lucky. The current balance showed $5,322. The extra $322 was what he'd had in there before. "This is wrong," Tom said immediately. "This is definitely wrong. I don't have this kind of money. Someone made a mistake." "That's what we thought too," Dale said. "We've been investigating since the transfer came through last night, but Mr. Rodriguez, this isn't a mistake. The money came from a corporate account belonging to Whitmore Industries. The transfer was initiated by Benjamin Whitmore himself, and there's a memo attached to the transaction." Patricia clicked something and showed him. In the memo line it said, "For Tom Rodriguez, gratitude for kindness shown." Tom's mouth went dry. Benjamin Whitmore, the old man from last night, the flat tire. "Wait, that guy? The one I helped? Who is he?" Rita pulled out a tablet and showed Tom a web page. It was a Forbes article about billionaires. And there, smiling from the screen, was the same old man Tom had helped on the highway. Benjamin Whitmore, founder and CEO of Whitmore Industries, one of the largest technology companies in the country. Net worth $8 billion. "Oh my God," Tom whispered. "I had no idea. He was just an old man with a flat tire." "Well, he's a very wealthy old man with a flat tire," Dale said. "And apparently, he's very grateful for your help." His assistant called us last night to make sure the transfer would go through immediately. They wanted to make sure you'd have access to the funds this morning. Tom's hands were shaking now. He gripped the edge of the desk. I can't accept this. This is too much. I just changed a tire, that's it. People do that every day. This is insane. Mr. Rodriguez, I understand this is overwhelming, Patricia said gently. But the transfer is legal and legitimate. The money is yours. No, Tom said, standing up suddenly. No, this isn't right. I need to give it back. I need to call him and tell him this is too much. I didn't do anything to deserve $5 million. He pulled out his wallet and fumbled through it until he found the business card Benjamin had given him. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely read it. Benjamin Whitmore, CEO, Whitmore Industries. There was a phone number at the bottom. Can I use your phone? Tom asked. His own phone was almost dead, and he didn't trust himself to dial correctly anyway. Patricia handed him the desk phone. Tom dialed the number with trembling fingers. It rang twice before a professional-sounding woman answered. Whitmore Industries. Mr. Whitmore's office. This is Angela speaking. Hi, my name is Tom Rodriguez. I need to speak with Mr. Whitmore. It's urgent. There was a brief pause. Mr. Rodriguez? Yes, Mr. Whitmore left instructions that if you called, I should put you through immediately. One moment, please. The hold music was classical, something soft and expensive sounding. Tom's heart was pounding. What was he going to say? How do you tell someone they gave you too much money? Tom? Benjamin's voice came through the line, warm and friendly, like they were old friends. Mr. Whitmore, sir. I'm at the bank right now, and they're telling me you transferred $5 million into my account. Sir, I can't accept this. It's too much, way too much. I just helped you with a tire. You did much more than that, Tom, Benjamin said quietly. But we shouldn't discuss this over the phone. Are you free this afternoon? I'm supposed to be at work, but I'll have my driver pick you up from the bank in 2 hours, Benjamin said. Please, Tom, come to my office. Let me explain. And then if you still want to return the money, we can discuss it. But at least give me the chance to tell you why I did this. Tom looked at Patricia, Dale, and Rita, all watching him with curious expressions. Okay, he finally said. Okay, I'll come. Good, Benjamin said, and Tom could hear the smile in his voice. I'll see you soon, Tom. And Tom, don't worry about work today. I've already called your supervisor. You're not in trouble. In fact, they're under the impression you won the lottery and just needed a personal day. Tom didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You called my boss? Just trying to make things easier, Benjamin said. See you in a few hours. The line went dead. Tom stood there holding the phone, feeling like his entire life had just been picked up and shaken like a snow globe. So, Patricia asked. What do you want us to do with the account? Tom sat back down. His legs didn't feel steady. I don't know. Can you freeze it or something until I figure out what's happening? We can certainly do that, Dale said. We'll put a hold on the account until you give us further instructions. But Mr. Rodriguez, I have to tell you, in my 20 years of banking, I've never seen anything like this. Whatever you did for this man, it clearly meant a lot to him. Tom thought about the previous night, the cold highway, the old man's trembling hands, the relief on his face when Tom had stopped. It had seemed like such a small thing, just basic human decency, the kind of thing his father had taught him to do without thinking. I just changed a tire, Tom said again, mostly to himself. That's all I did. But as he left the bank 2 hours later and climbed into the black town car that was waiting for him, Tom was beginning to realize that maybe, just maybe, there was more to this story. And he was about to find out exactly what. The town car was nicer than anything Tom had ever been inside. Leather seats that were soft and heated. Quiet, classical music playing from speakers he couldn't even see. The driver, a polite man in his 40s, didn't ask Tom any questions. He just drove smoothly through the city toward downtown, where the tall buildings scraped the sky. Tom had lived in this city his whole life, but he'd never been to the part where the real money lived. The skyscrapers here were all glass and steel, reflecting the morning sun like mirrors. People in expensive suits walked purposefully down the sidewalks, carrying briefcases and coffee from shops that probably charged $10 for a cup. It was a different world from the construction sites and warehouses where Tom spent his days. The car pulled up to a building that stretched so high Tom had to lean forward to see the top. Gold letters near the entrance read, Whitmore Tower. The driver came around and opened Tom's door, which felt strange. Tom wasn't used to people opening doors for him. "Take the elevator to the top floor," the driver said kindly. "They're expecting you." Tom walked through the revolving door into a lobby that looked like something from a movie. Everything was marble and polished wood. A massive chandelier hung from the ceiling, throwing sparkles of light across the walls. A woman at the reception desk smiled at him, and Tom suddenly felt very aware of his jeans and work boots. He'd thrown on his cleanest shirt, but it was still just a regular button-down from a discount store. Everyone else here looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. "Tom Rodriguez?" the receptionist asked. "Take the elevator on the right to the penthouse level. Mr. Whitmore is waiting for you." The elevator was glass on one side, and as it rose, Tom could see the whole city spreading out below him. It climbed so fast his ears popped. When the doors opened on the top floor, a woman in her 30s with dark hair pulled into a neat bun greeted him with a warm smile. "Mr. Rodriguez, I'm Angela, Mr. Whitmore's assistant. He's so glad you could come. Right this way." She led him down a hallway lined with artwork that looked old and expensive. Through windows on one side, Tom could see the entire city laid out like a map. He'd never been this high up before. It made him a little dizzy. Angela opened a large wooden door and Tom found himself in an office that was bigger than his entire apartment. Windows stretched from floor to ceiling on 3 sides. Bookshelves lined the 4th wall, filled with leather-bound volumes. A huge desk sat in the center, but Benjamin wasn't behind it. He was standing by the windows looking out at the view. He turned when Tom entered and his face broke into a genuine smile. He looked different in his office, more powerful somehow, but his eyes still had that same kindness Tom had seen on the highway. "Tom," Benjamin said, walking over and shaking his hand firmly. "Thank you for coming. Please sit down. Can Angela get you anything? Coffee? Water?" "I'm okay," Tom said, though his mouth was actually pretty dry. He sat in one of the chairs facing the desk. They were more comfortable than his bed at home. Benjamin sat across from him and Angela quietly left the room, closing the door behind her. For a moment, neither man spoke. Benjamin just looked at Tom with an expression that was hard to read. "I imagine you have questions," Benjamin finally said. "A lot of them," Tom admitted. "Starting with why you gave me $5 million for changing a tire." Benjamin leaned back in his chair. He suddenly looked older, more tired. "Do you know where I was driving from last night? When you found me?" Tom shook his head. "I was coming from my attorney's office," Benjamin said. "I'd just finished signing papers to distribute my fortune after I die. It's not something I wanted to think about, but at my age you have to be prepared." He paused, his fingers drumming on the armrest of his chair. "My wife passed away 6 years ago. Cancer. My son died 5 years ago in a car accident. He was my only child. He left behind a son, my grandson, who's 24 now." "I'm sorry," Tom said quietly. "Thank you," Benjamin said. "For the past 5 years, I've tried to build a relationship with my grandson. He's the only family I have left. I've given him everything. Paid for his education. Bought him cars, apartments, anything he wanted. I thought maybe if I was generous enough, patient enough, he'd eventually care about me as a person and not just as a source of money." Benjamin's voice cracked slightly. He looked out the window, not at Tom. "Last week, he came to my house for dinner. I thought maybe we were finally connecting. But I overheard him on the phone in the other room. He was talking to a friend, laughing. He said—" Benjamin stopped, took a breath. "He said he was just waiting for the old man to die so he could get his inheritance. That I was in his way. That spending time with me was a chore he had to endure." Tom felt a pain in his chest. He couldn't imagine hearing something like that from family. "I confronted him about it," Benjamin continued. "He didn't deny it. He just shrugged and said he thought I knew. That everyone in the family had always been about the money. He seemed to think I was being naive for expecting anything else." "That's terrible," Tom said. Benjamin nodded. "So there I was last night, driving home from signing papers that would give everything to someone who saw me as an obstacle. I was thinking about my life, about what it all meant. I built this company from nothing. I worked 80-hour weeks for decades. I made billions of dollars. And for what? For a grandson who can't wait for me to die? For employees who see me as just the boss? For a legacy that's just numbers in a bank account? He turned back to Tom now and his eyes were wet. And then my tire blew out. I pulled over on that dark highway and I called for help, but my phone died before anyone answered. I stood there, Tom, and I watched 47 cars pass me. I counted them. 47 people saw an old man who needed help, and every single one of them just kept driving. Some of them even sped up like they were worried I might ask them for something. Tom could picture it, that lonely stretch of highway. An old man in the cold and dark. I started to think that maybe this was what I deserved, Benjamin said. Maybe I'd become so focused on money and business that I'd forgotten how to be a person people actually wanted to help. Maybe my grandson was right to just see me as a walking inheritance. Maybe that's all I was worth. And then you stopped, Benjamin said, his voice getting stronger. Car number 48. You pulled over, and when you got out of that truck, I saw in your eyes that you didn't see a rich man or a powerful CEO. You just saw someone who needed help. You were tired. You were late to pick up your daughter. You were barely making ends meet, and yet you stopped. Benjamin stood up and walked back to the window.
While you were changing that tire, you told me about your life.
Your daughter. Your 2 jobs. Your mother's medical bills. You told me how you drained your savings to help her, and you said it so matter-of-factly. Like, of course that's what you'd do. Like there wasn't even a question. He turned back to Tom. You reminded me of my son. He had that same kindness in him. That same sense of doing right just because it's right. Not because there's something in it for you. When you were done, you wouldn't take my money. You just smiled and said you were paying it forward. Like helping a stranger was the most natural thing in the world. It should be, Tom said quietly. Yes, it should be, Benjamin agreed. But it isn't, not anymore. Not in a world where 47 people drive past an old man on a dark highway. Not in a world where your own grandson sees you as nothing but dollar signs. He sat back down, leaning forward now, his elbows on his knees. That $5 million isn't charity. Tom, it's not a reward for changing a tire. It's an investment in the kind of person this world needs more of. It's my way of saying that people like you, people who still stop to help, still sacrifice for others, still do the right thing when it costs them something, those people deserve to be lifted up, not used, not taken advantage of, but lifted up. Tom didn't know what to say. His throat felt tight. I know you want to refuse it, Benjamin said. I can see it in your face. You think you don't deserve it, that it's too much, that you only did what anyone should do. And that's exactly why you deserve it, Tom. Because you can't see your own worth. Because you're so busy taking care of everyone else that you never stop to think that maybe someone should take care of you for once. I don't know how to accept this, Tom said honestly. I don't know what to do with that kind of money. I'm a construction worker. I stock shelves at a warehouse. I'm not someone who has millions of dollars. You are now, Benjamin said with a small smile. And I know it's overwhelming. But Tom, I'm not just giving you money and walking away. I want to help you figure out what to do with it. I want to guide you, teach you how to manage it, how to invest it, how to use it to build a better life for yourself and your daughter. He pulled a folder from his desk and slid it across to Tom. I've also been thinking about something else. I'm starting a foundation, a charitable organization dedicated to helping working families, people who are struggling despite working multiple jobs, people like you. I want you to be part of it. I want you to help me decide how we can make a real difference. Tom opened the folder. Inside were documents about the foundation, mission statements, plans for programs and grants. It was all overwhelming, all too much. Why me? Tom asked, looking up. You could hire experts, people who know about this stuff. Because experts don't know what it's like to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries, Benjamin said. Experts haven't worked until their hands bled to save for their kids' future. Experts didn't stop on a dark highway when they were exhausted and late because they saw someone who needed help. I need someone real, Tom. Someone who understands struggle because they've lived it. Tom looked at the papers, at Benjamin's earnest face, at the view of the city outside the windows. His whole life was in this moment, balanced on the edge of something he couldn't even fully comprehend. I need time to think, Tom said finally. Of course, Benjamin said. Take all the time you need. But Tom, let me ask you one thing. Don't decide based on fear or pride. Don't refuse because you think you don't deserve it or because you're scared of change. Think about what you could do with this opportunity, not just for yourself, but for your daughter, for your mother, for other people like you who are working themselves to death just to survive. Tom nodded slowly. He stood up and Benjamin walked him to the door. Whatever you decide, Tom, thank you, Benjamin said. Thank you for reminding an old man that there's still good in this world, that there are still people who stop to help. As Tom rode the elevator back down, watching the city get closer through the glass, he felt like he was falling and flying at the same time. Tom thought he'd have time to process everything quietly. He thought he could keep the money situation private until he figured out what to do. He was wrong. It started with a phone call from his mother 3 days after his meeting with Benjamin.
Tommy, there's a news van parked across the street from my house, she said, sounding worried.
And a reporter just knocked on my door asking about you. What's going on? Tom's stomach dropped. What did they want? They said something about you becoming a millionaire overnight. They wanted to know if it was true. I told them I didn't know what they were talking about and shut the door. But Tommy, what's happening? Before Tom could explain, his phone buzzed with another call. Then another. Then text messages started flooding in. Friends he hadn't heard from in years, distant cousins. His old high school buddy who'd borrowed $200 5 years ago and never paid it back. Everyone suddenly wanted to talk to him. By the afternoon, the story was everywhere. A local news station had run a piece. Local construction worker receives $5 million gift from billionaire. They'd gotten the basic facts right. Tom had helped Benjamin Whitmore with a flat tire, and Benjamin had transferred millions into his account as a thank you. But they'd added dramatic music and called it the feel-good story of the year. From there, it exploded. The story went viral on social media. Within 24 hours, there were articles on national news sites, TikTok videos with millions of views, Twitter threads debating whether it was real or fake. Everyone had an opinion about Tom's story, and most of them were people who'd never met him. The attention was suffocating. Tom couldn't go to the grocery store without someone recognizing him and either congratulating him or asking him for money. He couldn't go to work because reporters kept showing up at the construction site. His boss had told him to take some time off until things calmed down, which Tom appreciated, but it also meant he wasn't earning his daily pay. Jennifer called him, furious. You got $5 million and didn't think to tell me? Lily's father is a millionaire now, and I had to find out from the news? It just happened, Tom tried to explain. I was going to tell you. I'm still figuring out what to do with it. Well, you can start by increasing your child support payments, Jennifer said coldly. My lawyer is filing paperwork tomorrow. If you have millions of dollars, there's no reason Lily should be living in a 2-bedroom apartment when you could afford to give her so much more. The line went dead before Tom could respond. He sat on his couch, his head in his hands. Jennifer wasn't wrong. He did want to give Lily more. But something about the way she'd said it, like he'd been hiding money from them, like he was suddenly a different person, it hurt. The worst part was the accusations on social media. People he'd never met were writing entire essays about him. Some said he must have known who Benjamin was and only helped him to get money. Others said the whole thing was staged, a publicity stunt for Benjamin's company. One particularly nasty thread claimed Tom was a con artist who deliberately sabotaged Benjamin's tire in the first place. This didn't happen the way they're saying, Tom told his friend Danny, one of the few people who'd known him for years and wasn't suddenly asking for money. They were sitting in Danny's apartment because Tom couldn't be at his own place without reporters knocking on his door. People are crazy, man, Danny said, shaking his head. They can't just accept that someone did something nice without looking for hidden motives. I didn't even know who he was, Tom said for what felt like the 100th time. He was just an old man who needed help. That's it, his co-workers were different now too. Some of them congratulated him genuinely, happy that someone they knew had gotten a break in life. But others were resentful. At the construction site, before his forced time off, Tom had overheard 2 guys talking. Must be nice, one of them said. We're all out here breaking our backs for barely enough to pay rent, and Tom changes one tire and becomes a millionaire. Where's our rich old man with a flat tire? Probably knew who it was, the other one said. Right place, right time, pure luck. Meanwhile, we're the suckers still doing the actual work. Tom had walked away before they could see him, but it stung. These were guys he'd worked alongside for years. They'd shared lunches, complained about the boss together, helped each other when jobs got tough. Now they saw him as someone who'd gotten lucky while they were left behind. His phone rang constantly with numbers he didn't recognize. Investment opportunities. People claiming to be financial advisors. Strangers asking for loans to start businesses or pay medical bills. Churches wanting donations. Charities asking for support. Everyone wanted a piece of the money. And Tom didn't know who to trust or how to say no without feeling guilty. The attention from potential romantic interests was particularly uncomfortable. Women he'd never met were sending him messages on social media, calling him handsome, asking him out for coffee. A few of them were pretty forward about it, making it clear they were interested in his bank account as much as him. It made Tom feel dirty somehow, like he wasn't a real person anymore, just a walking pile of money. One night he couldn't sleep. The stress was eating him alive. At 2 a.m, he drove to Whitmore Tower. He didn't expect Benjamin to be there, but he needed to do something. He needed to talk to someone who might understand. To his surprise, the security guard called up, and Benjamin's voice came through saying to send Tom up. When the elevator doors opened, Benjamin was waiting, wearing comfortable clothes instead of a suit, looking like he'd been working late. "I'm sorry," Tom said. "I didn't think you'd be here. I didn't know where else to go." "Come in," Benjamin said gently, leading him to the office. "You look like you haven't slept in days." "I haven't," Tom admitted. "Everything's falling apart. The news won't leave me alone. My ex-wife is suing me for more money. People I thought were friends are treating me differently. Strangers on the internet are calling me a liar and a con artist. And I can't handle this." He slumped into a chair, exhausted beyond measure. "I want to give the money back. I can't do this. It's ruining my life." Benjamin sat across from him, his expression understanding. "Tom, I need to tell you something. Something I haven't shared publicly. When I made my first million, I almost gave up." Tom looked at him, surprised. "I came from nothing," Benjamin continued. "My father was a janitor. My mother cleaned houses. I built my first company in a garage, working 18-hour days, eating ramen noodles because I couldn't afford anything else. When it finally succeeded and I made real money, I thought all my problems would disappear." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Instead, new problems appeared. My family started treating me like a bank. Friends I'd had since childhood suddenly resented me. People accused me of being greedy, of exploiting workers, of every terrible thing you can imagine. I had reporters digging into every aspect of my life, trying to find dirt. People I'd never met were making judgments about my character based on nothing but gossip and assumptions. "What did you do?" Tom asked. "I almost quit," Benjamin said. "I almost sold everything and went back to being nobody, just to have peace again. But then I realized something. The money wasn't the problem. The attention wasn't even really the problem. The problem was that I was trying to handle everything alone. I was trying to prove I could stay the same person I'd always been by myself without help." He leaned forward. "Tom, you need support. You need people who can guide you through this. Financial advisors who can help you manage the money responsibly. Lawyers who can protect you from the lawsuits and the scammers. A therapist who can help you process what's happening. You need a team." "I can't afford all that," Tom said automatically, then stopped himself. "I guess I can now. But I don't even know how to find those people. How do I know who to trust?" "Let me help you," Benjamin said. "I have people I've worked with for years. People I trust completely. Let me introduce you to them. Let me help you build that support system. And Tom, let me tell you what I learned. Having money doesn't mean you have to change who you are. It means you have resources to become more of who you already are." Tom rubbed his face with his hands. "Everyone keeps telling me I'm different now. That I'm not the same person. Are you?" Benjamin asked. "If someone's car broke down in front of you tomorrow, would you stop and help them?" "Of course," Tom said without hesitation. "Then you haven't changed," Benjamin said simply. "The people around you have changed how they see you, but that's their problem, not yours. You're still the same man who stopped on that highway, the same father who works 2 jobs for his daughter, the same son who gave up his savings to help his mother. The money doesn't change any of that unless you let it." They sat in silence for a moment. Through the windows, Tom could see the city lights twinkling in the darkness. "What about Jennifer?" Tom asked. "She's not wrong that I should give more support for Lily. But the way she said it, like I was keeping it from them on purpose." "That's between you and your lawyers," Benjamin said. "But Tom, you were already giving everything you had. Every dollar you earned went to taking care of the people you loved. The fact that you now have more to give doesn't mean you were doing something wrong before. It just means you have more options now. Tom nodded slowly. It helped hearing it from someone who'd been through something similar. I'm scared, Tom admitted. I'm scared of losing myself in all this. I'm scared of becoming someone my daughter won't recognize. I'm scared of making the wrong choices. Fear is normal, Benjamin said. But Tom, let me ask you this. What scares you more? The money and the changes it brings? Or going back to working yourself to death, never quite having enough, always worried about the next emergency? Tom thought about it. He thought about the nights he'd lain awake worrying about bills. The times he'd had to tell Lily they couldn't afford something she wanted. The constant exhaustion of 2 jobs. The fear every time his truck made a strange noise that he wouldn't be able to afford to fix it. I don't want to go back, he said quietly. But I don't know how to move forward either. One step at a time, Benjamin said. Starting tomorrow, we build you that support team. We get you the help you need. And Tom, we do this right. Not for the people who are judging you. Not for the news or social media or anyone else. We do this right for you, for Lily, and for everyone else you're going to be able to help because of this opportunity. Tom left that night feeling slightly better but still overwhelmed. The hard part was just beginning. 6 months had passed since that night on the highway, and Tom's life looked completely different now. But in the ways that mattered most, he was still himself. He was sitting in a conference room at Whitmore Tower, looking at architectural plans spread across the table. Next to him was Catherine Reeves, the financial advisor Benjamin had connected him with. She'd spent the past months teaching Tom about investments, trusts, and how to make his money work for him instead of just sitting in an account. Across from them sat Miguel Santos, the director of the community center they were planning to build. If we put it here, Miguel said, pointing to a spot on the map, we're right in the heart of the neighborhood where it's needed most, within walking distance for most families. Tom nodded, studying the plans. The community center would offer free after-school programs, job training, financial literacy classes, and a food bank. It was the first major project of the foundation he and Benjamin had created together. They'd named it the Second Chance Foundation, because that's what it felt like to Tom. A second chance to do something meaningful. Let's do it, Tom said. How soon can we break ground? With your approval, we can start in 3 weeks, Miguel said, smiling. After the meeting, Tom drove to pick up Lily from school. He still had his old truck, though he'd finally fixed that check engine light. He'd bought a nicer car, too. Something reliable and safe, but he found himself driving the truck most days. It reminded him where he came from. Lily came running out when she saw him, her backpack bouncing. She was 8 now, and she'd adjusted to the changes better than Tom had expected. He'd sat her down early on and explained everything in simple terms. They had more money now, which meant they could do more things, but the important stuff hadn't changed. He was still her dad. She was still his whole world. Dad, she called, climbing into the truck. Guess what? I got an A on my science project. That's my girl, Tom said, high-fiving her. Ice cream to celebrate? Yes, Lily cheered. As they drove to their favorite ice cream shop, Lily chatted about her day. Tom had used some of the money to move into a better apartment in a safer neighborhood with good schools. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't even that big. But it was comfortable and close to Lily's school, and that's what mattered. The relationship with Jennifer had gotten better too. After the initial conflict, they'd gone to mediation instead of court. Tom had agreed to increase his child support significantly, and Jennifer had agreed to shared custody. She'd apologized, actually, for how she'd reacted at first. I was scared, she'd admitted. Scared that you'd use the money to take Lily away from me, or that she'd love you more because you could buy her things I couldn't. Tom had assured her that would never happen. And he'd made sure that any big purchases for Lily, they decided together. It wasn't about him being the hero or the fun parent. It was about giving their daughter the best life possible. At the ice cream shop, Tom ran into Danny. His old friend was in his work clothes, just getting off a shift at the factory where he'd taken a job after the construction site had laid people off. Tom. Hey, man, Danny said, genuinely happy to see him. Danny.
How are you?
Tom asked. They ordered their ice cream and sat together while Lily played on the small playground outside. Been better, Danny admitted. The factory job pays less than construction did. Rachel and I are struggling a bit with the bills, but we're managing. Tom hesitated, then said, You know, the foundation I'm working with, we have a job training program starting next month. Helps people learn new skills, get certifications, free of charge. You interested? Danny's eyes lit up. Really, what kind of skills? Whatever you want, Tom said. HVAC, electrical work, plumbing, computer skills, even business management. We partner with community colleges to get people actual certifications they can use to get better jobs. Man, that would be amazing, Danny said. I've been wanting to learn electrical work, but I can't afford the classes. Tom pulled out one of the foundation's information cards and handed it to Danny. Call this number tomorrow. Tell them I sent you. They'll get you signed up. After Danny left, looking more hopeful than Tom had seen him in months, Lily came back over with chocolate ice cream on her face. Was that Uncle Danny? She asked. Yep, Tom said, wiping her face with a napkin. Did you help him? Lily asked. She'd started noticing how often her dad helped people now. They'd had conversations about it, about what it meant to have resources and what to do with them. I think so, Tom said. I hope so. That evening, Tom went to visit his mother. She still lived in her small house, though Tom had paid off the mortgage and made sure it was properly maintained now. She'd refused to move somewhere bigger. This is my home, she'd said firmly. I raised you here. I'm staying here. But she'd let Tom update the kitchen and fix the roof and make sure the heating worked properly. Small changes that made her life easier. How's my boy? She asked, hugging him at the door. She always called him that, no matter how old he got. I'm good, Ma, Tom said, following her into the kitchen where she was making dinner. Some things never changed. She still insisted on cooking for him when he visited. I saw the news about the community center, she said, stirring a pot on the stove. Your father would be so proud of you, Tommy. So proud. Tom felt his throat get tight. His father had died when Tom was 15, but he still missed him every day. I hope so. I know so, his mother said firmly. You know what he used to say? The measure of a man isn't what he has. It's what he does with what he has. You're doing good things, son. Don't let anyone tell you different. At the foundation office later that week, Tom sat with Benjamin reviewing applications for their scholarship program. They'd created a fund to help working parents go back to school or get job training, with childcare and living expenses included. The response had been overwhelming. Hundreds of applications from people just like Tom used to be, working multiple jobs, struggling to get ahead, needing just one break to change their lives. This one, Tom said, pointing to an application, single mother working nights as a nurse's aide, wants to get her RN license but can't afford to cut back her hours to take classes. 2 kids, this is exactly who we should be helping. Benjamin nodded, making a note. Approved. What about this one? They worked through applications for 2 hours. It was harder than Tom had expected, choosing who to help when so many people needed it, but it was also the most fulfilling thing he'd ever done. Every application represented a person who would get a chance they wouldn't have had otherwise. A chance to build something better. Benjamin leaned back in his chair eventually, studying Tom. You know, when I gave you that money, I wasn't sure what would happen. I hoped you'd use it well, but I've seen money change people in terrible ways. I'm glad to see my instincts were right. That's how I know you're making the right ones, Benjamin said with a smile. The people who should worry are the ones who never do. The foundation's first big event was a month later. They called it Roadside Angels, inspired by Tom's story. It was a campaign to encourage people to help others, to stop when someone needed assistance, to pay kindness forward. They'd partnered with local organizations to create a network of support services, and they'd set up a system where people could nominate others who'd shown extraordinary kindness. Tom stood at the podium in front of about 200 people, including local media and community leaders. Public speaking terrified him, but this was important. 6 months ago, he began, his voice shaking slightly. I stopped to help an old man with a flat tire. I didn't do it because I expected anything in return. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Because my father taught me that we help people when they need it. No questions asked.